In the previous lesson, we have designed our answers table schema to store all answers in our application. Now, instead of insert some answers manually, we will be using model factories again to prepopulate the answers programmatically as we did when we were building our questions feature. Alright, let's head over to our terminal and create new branch by saying git checkout-b lesson 14. Now we are in new branch and we can finally start our work now by generating new factory. Here we can say php artisan make factory, and then the factory name will be answer factory. Alright, let's open the answer factory. And here in factory define, let's change the model to app answer. And in array, let's set the body with fake paragraphs. It's gonna be 3 to 7 paragraphs. And don't forget to set through in the second argument to convert the paragraphs into a single string. Since the answer is created by a user, so here let's specify user ID, and the value will be a random user in this case. But how can we do that? Here we can say app user plug, then ID random. I'll explain this shortly. For now, let's also define votes count and set the value with a random number. Let's say 0 to 5 votes. Here we don't need to define question ID because we will utilize eloquent relationship, and we do that in database header. Now let me explain this line. Let me open Tinker, and now I'll open other terminal because I'll need more space. And here we can call app user plug ID. Here we will get a list of all users' ID in a collection. Now we can get one item from the collection randomly by calling random. So when we call this again, we will get different user ID. Or in other approach, you can get the list of all users' ID in array by calling all. After that, you can pass it in a LARAVEL array random helper function like this. And we get the same thing. Okay, now let's call this factory in our database header. Let's open the database header. And here, we already called LARAVEL factory helper to create several users. And for each user, we also create 1 to 5 questions randomly. Now here, we need to create several answers for every question. Do you have any idea? So here, after SaveMany method calling, we can chain it with each method, pass in a cluster as argument, the closure will be has a single argument to represent a question instance. So let's call it Q. Remember, a question has many answers, and we have defined answers relationship method in our question model in the previous lesson. So here we can say Q answers save many to create more than one answer. Inside here, we can call another LARAVEL factory helper function. Remember, this function needs two arguments. The first one is the model name, and the second is how many data will be created. And last, to actually generate the model factory, we need to call make. So let me review this code once again. So here, we create several users, 3 in this case. Here we call factory create to insert the users to the database directly, and then for each user, it will be created 1 to 5 questions randomly, and for each question, it will be created 1 to 5 answers randomly. Here in questions and answers, we call save many, and this method needs array of object. That's why inside it we call factory make, because this method will not directly inserting data to database. Instead, it will return array contains model instances. Okay, I hope this makes sense to you. Now let's save all changes. I get error. Okay. Now let's switch over to our terminal. And here we need to reset our database before we run our seed. So here we can say php artisan migrate :fresh -- seed. Alright, I think everything is perfectly fine. Now let me open phpMyAdmin. I'll go to users table. Here I have 3 users. Now I'll see the questions table. Here I have 6 questions. Last, I'll go to answers table. And here I have 21 answers. Note here that the number in answers count does not reflect the actual number of related answers. It's only a random number that we defined in here. Now you might be asking, how can we update the answers count with the actual number of the related answers? That's a good question, and it's perfectly timed to me to show you about Eloquent event.